Hello and welcome. We're the team at Vendor Society, and we're sharing bite-sized vendor tips and ideas in our interview series. I'm Katy, Luxem, the content manager at Vendor Society and eCommerce Nurse. I'm here with Melis, a client manager on our client services team. Melis is an ex-Amazonian and has worked with many vendors and sellers to provide full account management. So in this interview, we're discussing damage allowances and the overall question of, should we agree to a damage allowance or accept damages? Let's dive right in with a few quick questions to help you learn more about this complex topic. Hello, Melis. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Katy.
Cool. So our first question, can you just explain basically what is a damage allowance?
Yeah, sure. So a damage allowance is actually one of the four main categories of contractual terms Amazon negotiates when you are signing a contract as a vendor. It basically is a percentage fee that Amazon asks for to allow them to cover costs of handling returns and disposal. That's what typically a damage allowance contractual term is.
And is there a specific time of year that this would come into play?
Usually damage allowances and contractual terms are negotiated at the end of the year, and they're negotiated once a year if you have a vendor manager.
So Amazon has a return policy that, as we know, is favorable for customers. How does this impact the damage allowance vendors are likely to see versus what they might experience with other retailers?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, the amount is typically similar to the average returns rate the vendor will have in the industry already. However, with Amazon, it might be slightly higher because Amazon has, as you know, super favorable returns policy where items don't always come back in sellable condition and Amazon accepts those. So if you ripped up a package or something and you return that, and Amazon just refunds the customer for that. The thing is, vendors can also choose not to agree to this damage allowance that they are being provided and instead fund the cost of returning the item back to their warehouse. This typically could be more common amongst high value items such as electronics and jewelry, where the vendor really wants to see the product back and perhaps repackages themselves and sell again at another time of the year.
Interesting. So if vendors negotiate a certain damage allowance, how can they expect that to change in future negotiations, like next year or whenever they renegotiate?
Basically, if you want to negotiate or bring down your damage allowance, what you need to do as a vendor is ensure that your products are not faulty and that customers know how to use them. So, for example, good content on your website, on your Amazon site with A+ and good descriptions is very crucial because it's key to educate customers to minimize returns and minimize disposal of items. Typically, contracts are, as I said, negotiated on a yearly basis. If you want to bring this down, just ensure that you are educating your customers and making sure that your inventory is not faulty.
eCommerce Nurse can definitely help with that content piece. If vendors need help negotiating vendor terms, what else can they do?
Sadly, there's not much you can do if you don't have a vendor manager or a contact at Amazon to negotiate your vendor terms. And typically getting a vendor manager is highly dependent on how important that brand is to the growth of the categories, that specific category, and the future potential of that brand. And often small, medium-sized businesses are signed a take it or leave it contract, especially with damage allowance, which is around about 1.5% to 2%. So basically either you have a contact or you have usually a take it or leave it deal that comes through to your vendor central account.
Great. Well, this is a really meaty topic. We really appreciate you giving a little insight into how vendors should deal with damage allowances. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Vendor Society interview series by eCommerce Nurse. We are a boutique agency specialising in account management, marketing and consulting for vendors and sellers on Amazon. For more interviews, roundtables, blogs and information about all our services, visit vendorsociety.com and ecommercenurse.com.